So as I mentioned earlier, I'm the Director of Education at the Bakken Museum, and we have a small team who are participating in this. And I think the thing that really drew us to this was the opportunity to network out with other professionals in informal science. So often, you're siloed in your building or your location, and you think about, what can you do to have the biggest impact possible? And so often you wish you could talk to that other informal science provider, that other institution, that other person who's teaching in the same classroom or the same grade range to find out what are they doing, what's kind of in the inspiring thing that they heard about this year that they're copying, that they're taking everywhere they go. And to be able to meet other professionals in the field and kind of get inspired about what are the models that work best for these students, especially the Minneapolis Public School students that we're working to serve. What we're seeing is the real opportunity for extending the reach and the impact that we can have on students by working collectively. So instead of confusing teachers and students with language and terms and processes that maybe conflict and then become a reason for students to say, well, I don't get it or I'm not going to bother because you people are confusing me, it now becomes an opportunity for us to say, this is something we are all committed, we all support you as a learner here in Minneapolis Public Schools, we want you to succeed. And look at how much work we put into bringing this together to show you how important you are to all of our institutions. We're hoping that's a really salient concept that comes across to the students, that they see themselves as the center of this process of these organizations really supporting their learning and their success. And that's just been incredibly rewarding for me as an educator and then for my staff as well. And we pulled a lot of the other providers, the informal science providers, organizations that are working with this, and that was a very common thread on all of our comments, is that larger impact that we can have by working together.
Yeah, I've been real fortunate because I've been in the curriculum department in Minneapolis for 15 years. And we just got a Cargill grant 3 years ago. And early summer, a couple of years ago, Steve started talking to me about the potential of this program. And middle of July, I started getting calls from Kim on my telephone talking about this. And it was during my break time, and I was kind of, it gave me a little bit of time to think. And we had some conversations on the telephone, and she talked about everyone getting together over at the Wilder Foundation office to talk about it. And it started making a lot of sense to me. When I started in my K-5 science position, for example, like the Bakken Museum, we had maybe 4 different grade levels going to the Bakken Museum, and they were all getting really good experiences out of it, but it seemed to me that we should try to focus this a little bit. I basically represent 3 groups when I came to the table at Wilder that day. One was the students, and looking at this from the students' viewpoint, and I don't mean this in a negative sense, but it's like kind of with that stereotype about the herd of cats. There's just a lot of stuff going on. They're all very individual, whether it's with these partners, and everyone has kind of a very focus for what they were doing with Minneapolis, but it was kind of all uncoordinated. And it's not only the outside organizations. The curriculum department did not meet regularly with the after-school people, and we did not meet regularly with the summer school people. So this has been giving us an umbrella from the students' viewpoint to kind of create this coherence that keeps coming up, and looking at what's best for students. The other thing are teachers. Teachers are being required to teach towards specific learning targets. And this way, the partnership organizations are also focusing in on those learning targets. And it becomes actually, we're a great believer in the learning cycle, that we learn concepts, we explore, and we learn these concepts, go deeper, but then we have to reapply them in a new situation. So when our 5th graders are using the FOSS Environments Kit, they're doing little terrariums in their classrooms. Going out to the zoo and seeing those displays with the animals, that's just basically another one of those terrariums, only on a larger scale with just as many inputs and outputs. So it allows us to really kind of teachers to tap into these incredible resources in our community and also learn from them. The third reason is being part of a district office. I am trying to create this coherent picture for our students, and this partnership alignment is really helping. But selfishly, I sat down the other night and figured in my 15 years with Minneapolis Public Schools, I have had 7 superintendents. I have had 8 curriculum department heads that I've worked under, and I have 4 academic superintendents. And the reason why there were only 4 is that position's only been in existence for 7 years. But it's like a ship that's kind of going like this, and having these outside partners out there and having them be part of this bigger vision of where we're going, it really helps. It provides this incredible leverage to keep us pointed to what's important for kids and what works for kids.
So I see Brenda told me we have 2 hands left, so I think that's 10 minutes, so I'll do this really quick. I think, as the state STEM specialist, I get calls all the time that people have the answer, it's STEM, but no one knows what the question is. And I think that that's oftentimes an issue that we're all excited about and we're all passionate, but what does that truly mean? And to start to develop coherence around that idea is critical. In order for us to have a system that is going to be successful long term, we need to have that coherence. Now, to get that coherence, it needs to start small. It needs to start with small pockets of organizations to start to work together and then starting to scale up. And I see this as a wonderful opportunity to start at a test pilot level. We're starting to generate some ideas, generate what does this mean to develop coherence. As I look around the room, as I look around the entire larger room this morning, I look forward to continuing to leverage these little wins, these little gains we're having, and starting to bring in more to this process and start to say we can get a coherent process of programs pre-K through 12, pre-K through really career, to start to say these are the experiences that lead to students being engaged in 21st century skills, whether they go into a STEM career, I hope they do, or not, which is great too. They're going to have those skills to be successful. And so that's where I really see that exciting part of this, and why we've put our time into it, is we can start to say, what is this question that we all want to coalesce around so we can have coherence in this great system we have.
So where are we headed? We're just at the beginning, really, right now. So obviously right now we're at this testing phase. We're implementing and evaluating and looking at what's going on in 6 Minneapolis schools in just 2 grades. Of course, we are going to continue to share within the school district, within our community, and hopefully beyond that. Hopefully at NSTA next year, although I think our abstract is due today, so I'm not sure that's going to happen. And then expand, and expansion can mean a number of things. We're still open. More funding, obviously, but more grades within Minneapolis, more community organization STEM partners, more schools beyond Minneapolis, greater Minnesota, beyond Minnesota. It's wide open, and we're all very excited about what that looks like. I want to thank you all for coming, and we have, I think, about 5 minutes for questions. Yes, our other partners here. I guess I should see who's well. Representation from the Bell Museum is here. I see Wilder Research, and who else do we? Oh, First Prize, and the Works is here as well. So it's been very exciting to work with all of these very passionate STEM individuals. Ready? Richard.
I think for those of you who know me, I'm Richard Hudson from TPT. I have to ask, with kids on the web, kids in media, it seems to me there's a missing piece of the kids' STEM experience puzzle. And how are you going to make sure you include what they can watch on Nova or on Discovery as part of the fabric of this rich STEM experience?
So in case anyone didn't hear the question, I'll paraphrase a little bit, but Richard is asking about how does media play into the STEM experiences that we're providing for students. And Kim, do you want to speak to that?
One of the things that we talked about is, and that is actually not the rubric that you have, but also in a subset of the rubric where we actually fleshed out a lot of ideas on how do we make this, the students feel connected with all of us. And so one is to have a web page that represents all these organizations where students can go to. And in fact, I think in one of these logo models actually could be converted into a space if we wanted to go that way. It was a view of a city, you know, with all of our different organizations represented. So the students could do their virtual tours of within these organizations, but somehow collectively be at this shared space together, whether it's to do further research, do lessons, you know, some of the activities like we saw in this morning's presentation, post accomplishments, post their participation, and I think it's just completely wide open. So we definitely have that in mind, and that's probably going to be a big content area that we tackle at our next May meeting. But love to get your ideas for that, Richard, and to have you be a part of that. Yeah, that's true. We do, Starbase Minnesota has a clubhouse, and it's to do post-Starbase lessons where the kids actually can earn pins for their lanyards, their STEM lanyards that they have. It'd be very, very easy to convert that to a STEM house or a STEM clubhouse. That's for all organizations, because we want those students going to the next stop and the next stop and the next stop. But to have a gathering place to get excited and enthusiastic about STEM with their peers.
One more question.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. I'm really excited to be part of this conversation. Joe and I work together in Minneapolis. It is there for 10 years. I've been there for 20 years. I can count additional more attendance. My question is, in integrating STEM with Minneapolis public school activities, at what extent are you working toward also making sure that there's this connection between all the other Minneapolis public school initiatives like home education, like equity, including all closing that children gap? And secondly, how sustainable do you want this to be? So that it's not a situation where the next retailer that comes, then puts this aside and then start on the beginning. You've had continuous or sporadic relationships with partners, for example. You've had it with the Science Museum of Minnesota. You've had it with the reforms. I can tell you back to the history of student program works and all that else. So the whole question has been about sustainability.
So there are two questions there. One was about how are we connecting with all of the STEM-related initiatives in the Minneapolis Public Schools, and the other was about sustainability, noting that there's definitely examples from past experience that partnerships with community organizations can come and go, and that if a school district or a teacher or classroom school are going to make an investment in that partnership, I think they want to know it's going to last. From the sustainability part, I'll just give you my ideas on that. That's a really important question. I'm hoping that because we have a cohort of organizations working together that's only going to get bigger, that as part of a system, that is going to help to address that issue. But it's in our minds, but we don't have the answer for that yet. And I think there was an interesting example in the keynote presentation about building the commitment, even if it's not financial, of local businesses, bringing them into the partnership and having them speak for the importance of what is happening, and perhaps that is a path we need to take in order to really grow our community presence. The question about Joe may have something to say, but we are thinking about that. The Gems and Guys program, which is an after-school program that incorporates high-tech kids and First Lego League. Those people that are involved with that program are very involved with us. We are working with the STEM coordinators, Joe and his teammate, Sarah, who works with secondary STEM programs. And we will continue to bring more of those things into the framework. It's a work in progress also, but I think you raised two very important concerns and two very important kind of guiding principles that we need to keep in mind. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, just.
And then this will be our last question.
Okay. just that the school district can't do it alone. And that's something I just know now, and we need these outside partners. And the goal of STEM is to really transform how education is delivered. And I think what we're talking about here has that possibility. Our community partners, Cargill, Target, these big corporations, Boston Scientific, they've all been stepping up and want to see this. So I think there's a lot of movement to have this continue. Also, these relationships like the Bakken now, it's been just growing year after year, and the Minnesota Zoo, and I see the same with Starbase has been operating here, and I think we're building these bonds, the Bell, all the works and First Tech, all these things have been going on, and I think this can only strengthen this and sustain it over the long run.
Can I just add, to that, it's beyond Minneapolis too here. And so when we're looking at this is really about sustaining our STEM community of Minnesota. It's, so I look out and I see other districts that are here and listening as well. And so by having these connection points, it's only going to strengthen the entire system. And so then, not dependent upon the superintendent or the initiatives or whatever else, we have a strong foundation of STEM in Minnesota. And so that's going to help out Minneapolis, it's going to help out Osseo Maple Grove, help out all districts around that are collaborating with outside organizations.
I think our time's up, so thank you very much.
Is it lunch now?
Is it lunch yet? Yes, I think it is.
No, I thought I was doing